Welcome back, everyone. I thought today I'll light a fire and I'll have a little chat with y'all because it is snowing outside and it has been snowing for probably a week. I intended to be out already and have shot this 28 nozzle to long range, but you guys seen me take my very last shot with this rifle. I don't know if you can see it in there, but I got it sitting right here. So I'm still hoping to be able to get out in the next couple days. Hopefully it's been clear enough, but just, I'd be shooting through a lot of snow or flurries and stuff like that. I just want a nice clear day to take it and stretch it out for the first time. And when I do, I promise I'll take you with, and you guys can see me take the rifle that you watch me develop a load for and take it to long range for the first time. Maybe a little challenge. We'll see how many shots it actually takes to get onto that target out at maybe 800 yards. However, I want to talk with you guys today about setup and the importance of understanding how your rifle reacts off of every different setup. It never fails. Every single year, I have conversations with customers that missed at, say, 500 yards. And they felt very comfortable out to maybe 800 or 900 plus yards. And so we're having this conversation about, what happened? How did you miss? And so I have a conclusion to why. Almost every single time, there's two things that go into it that cause misses, and we're going to talk about those things. I feel like the two primary things that when I have conversations, start asking questions, two primary reasons that misses happen. So obviously, as a rule of thumb, and I've said this before, I want to go over it again. It's a great reminder for us all, and especially for those guys who maybe pull their rifle out and only shoot it a handful of times before they go hunting. Guys who are pulling their rifle out all year and shooting lots of rounds are struggling with these misses less than the guys who just pull it out and make sure it's on. And here's what happens. Most people, when they pull their rifle out, they will set it up with their bipods and a rear bag. If you don't have a rear bag, you need something like this. This is the bottle rest. So you have a bipod, you have a rear rest. And you shoot it, it's dead on, you're ready to go hunting. It only takes a couple, 2-3 shots, even out to long range, to know you're good to go hunting. And what you've done is you've set yourself up in the absolute best position that you could possibly set yourself up to take those practice shots. And your rifle reacts perfectly off of that and hits behind the crosshairs. You're good to take a shot on an elk or a deer or whatever at 700-800 yards. However, in the real world, so often we don't get to shoot exactly how we want to. We have to allow the terrain, the lay of the land, to dictate what our shot setup is going to look like. And so, if you've watched the series that I did, the 10-shot series last fall, you'll see that I tried a bunch of different setups, and you can go back and watch that as I'm setting up in different setups, I potentially change my point of impact. And so there's a question that comes up a lot, like, where does long range really start? Like, we don't need to have this conversation that much if you're only shooting 200, maybe even out to 300 yards, because pretty much no matter the way that you set up, your rifle isn't going to react drastically enough to cause a miss at probably 300 yards. But once you start getting out to that 400, 500 and beyond, now it starts getting very important that you understand exactly how your rifle reacts off of every different setup that you might have to use. And so what I'm telling you to do is you need to go out, and if you are going to shoot off of your backpack, this is the most common shot that most people take that they don't practice, is they take their backpack and they throw it up on a log, or they take their backpack and throw it up on a rock that gives them a higher point to shoot off of, because they might need elevation, and it might, feel like it's more steady than a tripod or something like that, and so you can kind of lean over it, laying over the top of that. However, if you're shooting a Magnum rifle, especially a Magnum rifle, the more recoil you have in your rifle, the more what I'm talking about is important. So let's say you're shooting a 300 Win Mag or a 28 Nozzler or a 300 PRC, something that packs some good energy down range. You're going to throw that thing over top of that bag, your pack, at 500 yards, and the chances are there's a good chance that you might hit high because your rifle has more of a rocker going on than a tripod and a bag. When you have a tripod and a bag, there is no back up and down movement hardly that happens at all. It's just a little back recoil. On a bag, what happens is you have nothing under the stock of your rifle, or laid across your backpack, what can happen, you have nothing under the butt of your rifle except your shoulder. When that recoil happens, it's driving that muzzle up and causing a miss. I just had a customer do that at 500 yards on an animal, threw it over the bag or his backpack, and shot right over him at 500, but he was shooting great. Like 500 was easy. 500 felt like a walk in the park until you changed the way that you set up, and you felt like you broke a good shot. You felt like everything was perfect, and you can't figure out why you missed. And all the reason is because your rifle and the recoil is reacting differently than the way that you sighted your rifle in. And when you start getting beyond that 400 or 500 yard mark, you start having enough distance for those shots to possibly over the top of the back of whatever you're shooting at. So there's different things that you can do. So we're going to talk about different setups that I would tell you to go try, and then I'll get to the second reason why I feel like people miss. So here's just a simple tripod, okay? I love tripods that I can unscrew one position and have free range and tighten it up anywhere. So these little tripods, I don't know if you can see them. I literally buy them. I don't know if you can see the brand there. It's Sirui, I believe it's called. I get them on Amazon at like 150 bucks. They're nice and lightweight. But I love that they don't have a knob every position, and a lot of tripods do. So these are just really quick. You can lock them wherever you want. They're not the most heavy-duty tripods in the world, but for what I find, they do the trick. I think they're a good mesh of lightweight and durability. So there's different ways that you can set up. This is a clamp with an Arca rail. You can throw that in there. And you can clamp your rifle in this thing. It works fine. However, again, you have one spot that your rifle's set up. You need to keep this, just in front of your magazine is where I clip this in to have kind of a center point. But again, you have some rocking that can happen, that if you sighted it off of a tripod or a bipod and a sandbag, or a bipod and one of the bottle rests, this kind of a setup is predominantly going to hit a little bit high. And so you need to be going out and practicing those things. Here's a little rail that I made. I bought this rail. It's like a 12-inch Arca rail I bought on Amazon. These little V's I bought on Amazon, and just drilled it out and put some screws in, and I have a little 2-point rest. I actually find this to be more solid than this for me. I actually set that up for my kids to be able to shoot a crossbow off of in the blind, and then I started shooting off of it. And I feel pretty comfortable taking, say, a 350, 400 yard shot off of that on here with these tripods that are really, not that stable, not compared to, a real shooting tripod. But these tripods are a good mix of they're fairly lightweight, and especially if you're not taking them to the standing height, they're pretty stable. So I guess what I'm trying to tell y'all is make sure that if you're going to shoot longer distances, 400 plus, make sure that you are practicing every setup that you potentially have to use, so if you have to use it, you're not going to be surprised. You don't want your first shot off of a backpack to be at an animal. You want your first shot off of a backpack to be at a target. So if you shoot 8 inches high, you know exactly what you need to do. And maybe you need to go make some notes on your phone or make some cheater notes somewhere where you can refer to those notes if you have to use that style and your point of impact tends to change. So make some notes and all that. You might not feel like your point of impact changes, but you start noticing things like all my misses are high. Like I'm hitting close to the bullseye, but if I miss, my tendency is to miss high. And so you can start making notes of some of those tendencies, and that gives you something to refer back to when you need to make that shot, so that you can have that one shot fall in right where you need it every single time, no matter what setup that you're using. All right, the second mistake that I see most people do, and again, this is something that happens mostly with guys who aren't shooting a lot. However, any time that you put an animal, especially trophy-sized stuff, in the crosshairs, this can happen really easy, and that is trigger control just goes out the window. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen guys get punchy on the trigger, even at closer ranges, and not figure out why they missed. I'm like, what'd your trigger feel like? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Did you just add pressure to it? Did it kind of surprise you when it went off? I don't really know. Well, if the answer is I don't really know, then I can pretty much guarantee you it probably got slapped off. And anytime that you hit something, you potentially move it. And if you're command firing that thing, you're also anticipating that rifle to go off, which can cause a flinch. And so make sure that if you want the best out of your rifle, you have to learn the process, to trust the process. And one of those processes is just add pressure to the trigger. As long as that crosshair is staying within an area that you want to hit, it might be moving a little bit. As long as it's staying inside the area you want to hit and you're adding pressure, your likeliness of hitting where you want is way higher than if you try to time it and punch it as it gets up onto the vitals. So those are a couple things that I just wanted to mention. I want to say I did not forget to make continued videos about this 28 nozzler shooting long range. I will. We're going to get into the one-shot challenge if you guys want to follow along. Subscribe for that. But I thought I would have a little chat by the fireside talking about fundamentals. Even though I've covered some of this on my videos in the past, I see it still over and over and over where guys are, not actually doing what it takes and putting in the work, and then later they're disappointed because they had to learn that their rifle reacted differently off of that setup when they were actually shooting at something they just really wish they could have on their wall. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, have a great day, stay warm, and go apply this stuff. Go try it out.